What is up, RotoGrinders? Dean here, Dean 794. If you want to get all technical, it's 2 hours of nonstop MLB DFS conversation starting right now, taking you all the way up the lock, all the way up the first pitch. Two of the greatest MLB, just DFS players of all time. Joining me today, we got Head Chopper, we have Squirrel Patrol. Squirrel, happy Wednesday evening. We're currently sweating to some degree. A bunch of games going on in the afternoon. Darvish Chalk is going about as well as you expect it to. Not well. Currently down 2-0 in the top of the third. Couple of guys on the pond there for Miami. Squirrel, welcome. What's up? How are things this evening?
Yeah, good. They split the games up pretty nicely this Wednesday. Sometimes, we see like 8 morning games, 3 evening games. But this one we've got nicely sized slates on both the AM and the PM, so it works out well.
Yeah, 7 games this evening. We just got a Cleveland lineup, by the way. Trying to see Freeman, Jimenez, Ramirez, Naylor. That's Josh Fry, who's just like really, really hot these days. Rodriguez, you super cheap. Arias, Hedges is in there, the backup catcher. So no Bo Naylor. Jose Ramirez, by the way, did you guys see his quotes? He said he's better than Barry Bonds. You guys happen to catch that? I don't know if he was joking or not. I didn't hear the context of it, but that was pretty. Somebody made a reference of like how he's as good as Bonds, or you know what it was? I think they walked him with they gave him the Barry Bonds treatment. I think it was walked maybe with the bases loaded or something like that. So I don't remember the full context, but they kind of referenced that to him. He's like, "Yeah, I'm better than Barry Bonds," and you know what? He might be, maybe at least in a small sample. Probably not. But thought that was a fun little quote. Chop is J-Ram better than Barry Bonds? Probably, maybe today. Certainly today, if nothing else.
Yo, chicken grease needs to stay in his lane. He is not as Barry Bonds was the GOAT, man. How can you even think that? That's his nickname, chicken grease.
No, Jose Ramirez's nickname is chicken grease?
Yeah.
I don't believe that. That's a chop back.
Okay.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, Jose Ramirez is known as chicken grease. At least in my private chats, he is. But
what's the origin story on that? Because according to Bing and the Google, that does not check out.
Because when he's slumping, kind of has the appearance that he's up there swinging after he just ate a big bucket of chicken and the bat's all slipping out of his hands and stuff. So we call him chicken grease. Anyway, Dean, the point is, no way.
Terrible nickname.
Barry Bonds was not meant to be flattering. It's for when he's slumping. Barry Bonds was like, I can't even remember some of the stats that were like 1 year he had more singles than strikeouts.
2001, I think
or something.
Was.
That guy was a machine. I don't care. Maybe he was. I'm supposing he was probably on the juice or whatever was doing.
He was in the chicken grease.
Everybody was on the juice, man, and nobody was doing that. Like he was like, you couldn't get him out. He was pretty unbelievable. So no, this guy needs to just relax on that talk and just get your team past the first round of the playoffs, bud.
2001, Bonds had 73 home runs. So I'm trying to see he had 73 home runs and 177 walks, which is like that's bonkers right there. 35 intentional walks. How many strikeouts is that you're asking about? How many times he struck out? For some reason, I cannot find that stat here on the fly. There it is. He struck out 93 times. So that's a lot of 47 in the next season. He had a run, though, where it was just completely insane. Eric in chat saying Bonds greater than Sosa, greater than McGuire. Probably. Yeah, probably. Wouldn't disagree with that. But, do want to say hello to the chat. What's up, chat? Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. Get comfortable. We're here for 2 hours. Well, this group is here until about 6:15 or so. Crunch time comes in. You got Kevin Roth. You got Derek Carty, as well as will be joined. Will, you got the Chief as well coming in. Weather-wise, we are pretty good. The only game that's potentially dicey looks like the game that's not even on the slate, Boston and Baltimore. I did go ahead and drop this in chat for the people. We're also going to be spinning the wheel. We're spinning the wheel tonight for a free week of RotoGrinders Premium. How do you get your name on the wheel? Well, it's pretty simple. Go in the Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Go into the live stream chat channel, and either producer Steve or producer Devin, one of them, put a little post up. Just click the avatar underneath their name. Here it is. Yeah, producer Steve has it. He just posted a few minutes ago. Just click that RG avatar. get yourself eligible. I see the numbers going up in real time. There you go. We gave one away earlier today. We're giving one more away today. In about, we're going to do this before we do tiers. So probably in about 35, 40 minutes or so, give or take, depending on. Speaking of tiers, I had an emergency tier backup, and I cannot find it. So we have nothing that was officially ranked. We got to rank something, right? The people like the ranks. It gets engagement and all that. So here you go. The bet against Chop's better judgment. We're going to ask the chat. What should we rank? What should we rank for our tiers? Let's see if we can get some fun topics.
Let's get some fun stuff. But Dean, I also need to correct your ass real quick before we even start this thing. It wasn't against my better judgment. I didn't say one word pre-show. I didn't say one thing. And now you're blaming me, telling me I was against the chat. No, sir. I'm a man of the people. I didn't say one thing. You got to get your facts straight, bud. I want the chat participation.
I just Googled Jose Ramirez's nickname, and the first thing that came up is Mini-Me. And I guess one of his early monikers was Mini-Me, a playful nod to his stature and the comparison to his teammate Juan Uribe. That's Juan Uribe hasn't played baseball in the majors for a while now, right? I guess they kind of have a similar build, but it's kind of insulting to Jose Ramirez to comp him to Juan Uribe, who had a fine major league career, but very clearly, distinctly better. Another nickname that gained popularity was George. George, bestowed upon Ramirez by manager Terry Francona. Okay. I don't see chicken grease.
You definitely agree chicken grease is better than those things, right?
Yes. I think so. All right, chat. So hook us up with some potential things to rank, and we will get to it soon enough.
Can we rank late 90s sluggers?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, late 90s. Yeah. Well, Sosa, McGuire, Bonds, Mo Vaughn.
Brady Anderson.
Brady Anderson, he's the bottom, right? He had the one good year with the sideburns where he had 51 homers, and then he just kind of came and went and disappeared. Yeah, who else? Frank Thomas, Albert Bell, or Joey Bell, whichever. What does he prefer? He preferred Albert, right? I think he changed from Joey to Albert. Casey Douglas is saying Frank Thomas. Bobby Gomes is a huge Manny Ramirez guy. Yeah, he's throwing out Manny Ramirez in chat. Fred McGriff, of course, the crime dog. Ken Caminiti, another guy who got hit with I think he was another guy that got hit with accusations. But yeah, all right, maybe we can do that. There you go. A lot of throwback names. We'll figure it out. But all right, Jeff Bagwell. Yeah, there's a lot to pick from. We'll figure this out as we go. Ken Griffey, yeah. Well, is he late 90s? Like he was a rookie in 1991. I guess that he was basically injured in the late 90s. I guess was he in the Reds late 90s, or that was like early 2000s?
He hit 56 home runs in 97, 56 in 98.
He was like a rookie in like 91 or something, right?
Well, you got to remember the 89 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. card. That was like the number one Ken Griffey Jr. Upper Deck, one of the more famous cards of all time. So.
Yeah, just what a disaster.
They mass produced those too. You ever see the story on that, Chop? I know you're.
Yeah, they swindled us, Dean. They swindled us, young kids who were out there trying to score some Griffies. We thought we were cool, man. We got a Griffey rookie at Upper Deck. Little did we know these guys were making a 1,000 out of their kitchen, 1,000 an hour, and just pumping them
sheets
out.
And sheets of them.
What a joke.
Yeah, if you look around your house, maybe in a half hour, you'll just find a Griffey 89 Upper Deck just kind of hanging out in the corner somewhere.
Speaking of cards, Dean, you know what I'm feeling good about? I'm feeling good about my Luka Doncic investment from a couple years ago during COVID. Yeah, well, I was like,
what do you have?
I gotta find some stars that I want to invest in, and Luka was one of them. And I got all the good stuff, Dean. I got the silver.
It's like the prism. What is it? What's
I got the silver prisms. I got a couple rookie autographs that are just flawless, like on some of the good cards. Yeah, I got some good stuff, man.
On the card, is he actually crying in the photo, or he's not crying in the photo? Because he's always crying when I watch Luka. He's whining about something.
I'm certainly not saying I'm a huge Luka fan, although I'll have to give the guy his props as being a top 3 player in the NBA. But yeah, I certainly don't want to see him win an NBA title the way he acts sometimes, but that's where we are, Dean. But as an investment, it looks pretty good right now.
Yeah, for sure. You getting out those streets at all, Squirrel, as far as the investments?
No, I don't really do the player cards. I do if I win a big tournament, I buy the player card, add it to the glass case. It's now like also like a mantle running across like the bar or whatever.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't really get into the collectibles.
There's probably some weird name. Do you get like the random person or like the star that's in the lineup, or is there like some random dudes that like it's like wait, who has this guy out of nowhere? There's probably some eclectic names.
Yeah, I don't really have like set criteria. I kind of just go with whoever. A lot of times it's like whoever hit the basket, hit the home run or whatever to put me over the top in the tournament. Or it could be somebody that was like, oh, I like that was the clear reason I won the tournament. Like I had this guy, even if he's not the last guy or whatever in the game. So.
You got to give us a tour one day or throw some pictures up on Twitter. I'm curious to see what names would randomly pop up. Butto in chat saying I would not say that to Luka. I was just joking around. Luka's awesome, obviously. He does foul people sometimes, so it's okay, Luka. You fouled some people. It definitely happens. Tony Gwynn being thrown out in chat is the complete opposite of like 90s slugger. He was spectacular, but I wouldn't call him a 90s slugger. Josh Hamilton, there you go, JD. That's another one who certainly had a window he was famously for the home run derby, I suppose. I guess that was Fenway, I think is where he had his moment for the home run derby when people used to care about that. All right. Let's dive in and dig in and talk about tonight's slate. Paxton was just removed for some reason for the Dodgers. I don't know if it was an injury or not, but after 50 pitches, for whatever reason, they just took him out. Okay, and Polar Bear was also injured in that game too. I think it was a hand. I believe he was hit by a pitch. Alonso. Okay, give me the screenshot here as far as the slate tonight. We have another game in Coors. Cleveland's got a 6 total once again. Toronto once again is well positioned on the road against a bad Chicago pitcher. Yankees still out there in LA, locked in for 9, and they're just locked in all together. Tons of power there. Some pretty good pitching at the top, but like nothing amazing, I don't think. Some guys that are overachieving, you make that argument as well, but I want the screenshot, Squirrel. Tell me what you're looking at as far as the slate tonight.
Yeah, so it's 7 games. It's really similar to last night. I mean, it's not a surprise they play series. But a lot of the top spots last night are the top spots tonight. But we're missing a few games, right? So there's only 7 games. Last night was a bigger slate. It's getting harder and harder. The more I look at things to get away from Cleveland and Coors Field, but that Coors Field does that to you, right? As soon as the team goes up and puts up a big game, they get shut down the next game at super high ownership. So we've got some decisions to make, but it should be a good one. It's hard to get away from the top spots, but that's Major League Baseball DFS. So got to make some decisions.
Chop, what's the plan of attack tonight? We playing FanDuel, we playing DK, we having some fun rolling out 150, we making one lineup, and also, what is your overview? What are you seeing as far as the slate tonight?
One lineup on DK, nothing else. That's it, Dean. Just calling it a day after that one, and hoping I can do something with it. I don't know. The overview is you had a Coors Field game, and it's starting to heat up there, and there's starting to get to be offense. So you got to take it into consideration now, and you kind of got to revolve your lineup around that. How much you want to fade that, or how much you want to play that chalk. I think there's plenty of pitching to go around in all price points. So just depends on where you want it to go. And you have to realize that when you load up on Coors Field chalk, you're going to have a very chalky pitching selections also probably.
Imanaga is going to be pretty popular tonight, taking on the Brewers, 23% currently on DK, giving a refresh. Luis Heel, 27%, give or take. He's, his price has gone all the way up, but it's been justified the way he's been playing.
He's good, Dean. I hate to say it because I don't like the Yankees. That kid is good, man.
Well, he's also wild. More than 50. Let's see. No, not more than 50%. 31.7% Ks, 13% walks. So like he'll walk the bases, and he'll strike out 9 and he'll walk 4 and he'll do both. And sometimes that only lets him pitch like 5 innings or so. But yeah, for our world, his ceiling is awesome. Biggest K rate in the slate, 31.7%. Imanaga, 27.8%. He looks awesome too. He's been pretty lucky. Kind of a fly ball guy, and he's gotten away with it. Just 4.8% homer to fly ball. BABIP's been good too at 266. Left on base, 93%. His ERA is 0.84. His Sierra is over 3.01. So like there is supposedly a stack correction. You know, the old regression monster is coming for Imanaga. He can't be this lucky for this long, but he's also been very good. And he's not walking guys either, 4.3%. Next highest K rate is Mackenzie Gore, who's been pretty good this season. I'm curious to get I want Squirrel's take on Gore because I think he's kind of interesting for tournaments. Atlanta, Noah Cunha lineup weekend a little bit, obviously. Bailey Ober, Alec Manoah, who's been mostly bad, but he's had a couple good games here and there, but it's been really bad from the last couple seasons. Kirby, who's just an awesome pitcher, doesn't walk anybody, 2.4%, doesn't really strike out a ton, 22%. Tough matchup, but he's also a guy that, like, if he can go 7, maybe 8, assuming he can keep that pitch count down, with no walks and some positive BABIP. And then there's Seth Lugo, who's another guy who's been an overachiever this year, 1.74 ERA. The Sierra is almost 4, 3.78. I think I was reading he's got like 7 or 8 different pitches. His pitch mix. I'm not somebody like digs into a ton of pitch mix stuff, but apparently he is changing things up and has just a pretty big arsenal. Another guy who's been lucky as far as home on the fly ball, 7.1%, 245 as far as BABIP. So theoretically, a regression monster also coming for him. And then there's old man Verlander, Chop, and he's positioned at least to theoretically to get some strikeouts, but the Ks aren't really there as much as they used to be, 21%. Just a lot of options, a lot of pitching options. Are you taking any stands, Chop? Are you first saying, especially you making one lineup, are you first saying, look, I want to make my stack, and then I'll figure out which 2 pitchers work with it? How are you starting the build as far as your lineup?
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't got that far, Dean. You're asking a lot of questions. It's kind of early in the day. I would say that right now, I would say, first of all, one lineup. I don't have to stack anything. I don't have to stack if I don't want to. I'm not forced to stack. I'm not doing 150 in these small tournaments where you got to have the stack. Getting into some smaller stuff where I don't have to stack, so I probably won't force it. And I don't know. I've got some hitters identified that we'll talk about later, and with the knockers and the BVP, and I'm sure those guys will go in there. But I kind of don't see anything right now that I'm forcing in there. I do see some interesting spots to go with it in the hitting and the pitching, and we'll talk about it. But yeah, I'm just kind of Dean. Here's the thing. Been running good for about a week now, and I'm just not forcing anything, Dean. I'm just letting things happen. It's like the electricity goes through my fingertips when I'm clicking the mouse, and it just clicks on the right players right now. So I'm just gonna let that flow tonight like that.
You've been running good for like 10 years, though, Chop. No?
I would argue with that, Dean.
You're privy to your numbers more than I am, but
there's certainly been some spots in there that have fallen on hard times.
Yeah, but the small sample of a week is good enough for you to say, we should bet on Chop tonight if there was something we can do. State Kings, Chopper. I
feel pretty good about it, man. Whatever happened to State King? Why that was a fun little site. That was a fun little site for a while, but yeah, I gave up on it.
Did they ever reach out to either one of you guys for that? I don't know how that works, but I feel like they probably would reach out to you guys. I don't know.
I got into a whole brouhaha 4 years ago about posting on there. I don't know if you remember, but I had really big markup or whatever for one of the live finals specifically, and people went nuts. And it was like a week-long argument, and then COVID happened like a week later.
Supply and demand. If the people are willing to pay for it, they want to taste, and your brain also has some value too. Yeah, that must have been a lot of fun. I'm sure you don't miss those conversations. Was that on Twitter? Can I find that somewhere on Twitter?
Yeah, it was on Twitter. A lot of familiar names, arguing back and forth. I do accept the suggestion. I should have put a minimum because I really did just intend it to be a fun thing. But I should have put a minimum or put a maximum. You can only buy a certain amount. And I think that would have quashed a lot of the criticism and gone farther to what I actually kind of intended it for.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah. I think it's still a thing though. I feel like I saw it in my timeline the other day. Yeah, it still does exist. By the way, Yu Darvish out of the game already after 3 innings. Tough scene for Yu Darvish on the early slates. Okay. By the way, we should I saw some more names being thrown out there that we haven't talked about as far as potential sluggers we could power rank. Vladdy Sr. Remember him? He was really good. Vladdy Sr. was pretty awesome. And then Adam Dunn was that dude the true like 3 outcome player, right? Home run, walk, or strikeout. He's somehow lost in history, but I feel like he probably had done it like 500 homers, didn't he? I feel like he might have. Probably some for he definitely had some for your Nats, right? Wasn't he a Nat for a while? Squirrel?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I don't know if we mentioned Juan Gonzalez either.
That's another one. And by the way, I don't think he was ever really somebody you think of when it comes to the allegations. But you look at, he certainly looks the part. He certainly looked the part, Juan Gonzalez for Texas. But he had a run as well where he was pretty spectacular. And then there's Jim Thome, who's got over 600 homers, I think. What did they call him? The way of saying he wasn't one of those guys, they called him like country strong or something like that. What was the official term they used for Thome? But there you go. Yeah. Chipper and Andrew Jones also thrown out in chats. They're both good players, but I wouldn't really call them sluggers. I don't think so.
Could we go Mike Piazza?
Yeah. All-time Miami Marlin, Mike Piazza. He was a Marlin for like a week or so.
Oh, how about, I don't even know if this is the right timeline, Dean, but what about the old Coors Field connections with Dante Bichette and those guys?
Galarraga? Yeah, Gato Grande,
go.
Big Cat. Dante Bichette, Galarraga, Larry Walker. I think there's a fourth one. Blake Street Bombers, I believe they called them. I think that was mid-90s. Mid-90s, yeah. Ellis Burks being thrown out as well.
Oh, what about your boy? What about your boy from Florida, Gary Sheffield?
Yeah, Sheffield was a lot of fun. He was a lot of Vinny Castilla. There you go. That's the one who we were forgetting on Colorado. He was spectacular as well. Okay, a lot of names being thrown out, but maybe we'll have to figure this out. Should we just let producer Steve surprise us? I don't know.
Steve, let him have his day here. Let him have his shot Let him have his shot here, man. Go ahead and surprise. You got a lot of names, a lot to choose from, Steve. Give us more work. Shot. We'll he's just sitting back, relaxing right now, watching the show. You can just plug in the names. We'll let him rank his 5, and then we're good with that.
Andre Dawson did not play in the late 90s, but okay. Andre Dawson was more of an 80s guy. He might have played the early 90s. I think he retired with the Marlins, if I'm not mistaken. Todd Helton, once upon a time, was Peyton Manning's backup at Tennessee. I think he backed up Manning, right? I don't remember who backed up who. Maybe it was Manning that backed him up at quarterback, but also he was really good at baseball too. Jay Buhner being thrown out there for the Mariners. Those are some fun Mariner teams back in the day. Now all the Mariners just getting thrown out there. Mike Sweeney, Edgar Martinez, greatest DH of all time, arguably. Okay. How about yourself, Squirrel, as far as the pitchers? Are you making any like bold calls, any bold claims, any bold stands? Luis Heel kind of talked him up. His K rate is the best on the slate. Over, pretty good. The matchup versus Kansas City can kind of go both ways. Any sort of big stands when it comes to the pitchers? Anybody you want to be well over? Anybody you want to be well under? Anybody you're Xing out?
I'm probably going to be, under on Shota. Like you said, you kind of referenced some stats there. He's getting kind of lucky, and he's really expensive. If I'm spending up, I think I am going to spend up for Luis Heel, but I'm probably not going to spend up that much. I think Verlander's got a great matchup. You really haven't gone wrong taking pitchers, especially right-handers, going against Seattle this season. And the fact that Verlander isn't the most expensive pitcher on the slate, and he should not be, but going against that team. And just the fact, the name Justin Verlander, if his name was not Justin Verlander, I'd still be very interested. His name is Justin Verlander, and you have to think maybe he's still got something there. I mean, he hasn't been a bad pitcher this season. He's just not the strikeout pitcher that he was. But still, yeah, that's awfully tempting. 9,300 on FanDuel and 8,800 on DraftKings. That's it's pretty tempting. And then the guy that I think I do want to be over with the field on, you referenced him, Mackenzie Gore. I think he's just a good major league pitcher. And I don't think that the projections have necessarily caught up with how good he is. And he's got a matchup against Atlanta that people are not going to want to, nobody's going to want to take Mackenzie Gore against Atlanta. Mackenzie Gore doesn't, or, Atlanta doesn't have Ronald Acuna. So I don't know. Yeah, I probably end up over the field on Gore.
Yeah, I see you have a blurb on him here on Lineup HQ. I think you tagged him as well. Yeah, it's pretty flat, by the way. It's pretty interesting. Heel at 27, over 24, Imanaga 24, Verlander 21, who's 41 years old, but still fine, right? Obviously, he's not the the strikeout guy he once was. You mentioned Seattle. I don't think we have a Seattle lineup just yet. That's a late game, but the projected, it might have just dropped. I think it just dropped on us. But yeah, 21.4% as far as the Ks dating back to last season, but this season specifically, it's down to 20.6%, but that's because Ryan Bliss is in there and he's at 0. I don't even know if Ryan Bliss is playing today. He's not. We got to get a refresh on that. Crawford, Moore, Rodriguez, France, Rojas, Haniger, Canzone, Garver, and Rowley. That's Luke. Not Big Dumper. No Big Dumper today for Seattle. All right. Just some more names just being thrown out. Rockin' Robin Yount. Come on, Eric. That was like the late 70s. Like, he didn't play in the 90s, Robin Yount. I don't know. Was he rocking? Is that something? Is he adding a little bit of color to that? I don't know if he was rocking Robin Yount. But, yeah, he had some locks, though, for sure. Pudge Rodriguez. Not a slugger. Good player, but we're going to call him a slugger? I don't think so. Okay. But some fun throwback names being thrown out there in the chat. Do you want to give the pitch on Gore outside of him just like being, like you said, the projections probably don't fully capture where he is now as opposed to where he was a couple of years ago. And also this Atlanta team somewhat weakened by Acuna. Is that basically the gist of it there for you, Squirrel?
Yeah, he's got a good strikeout rate. It's up from last season. The walks are down. And he's a highly regarded prospect. I mean, I'm not as hand in the dirt, right? I'm just looking at the numbers, but he's a young, highly regarded prospect. He was one of the keystones of the Juan Soto trade. So obviously the Nationals thought highly of him. The Padres did as well. Didn't want to give him up. And he's lived up to the hype so far. And we tend to forget about these guys. We're always looking at the next rookie, the next guy coming up in the the Pirates organization or whatever. But Mackenzie Gore is still getting better. And yeah, strikeout rate over 30% this season. Weekend Atlanta lineup. That's basically the pitch.
Somebody said that Rodriguez had the most home runs for a catcher. That does not appear to be the case. I knew it was Piazza. Yeah, Piazza 399, Fisk 366, Bench 356, Berra 336, Lance Parrish 324, and then there's Zyrod at 311, right ahead of Gary Carter and Brian McCann. I would not have guessed Brian McCann's like 6th or 7th all time for homers. One-time lefty master, right? I believe he was a lefty master, Brian McCann. We'll have to run that by Derek Carty. He'll be on in a bit. Do get in the Discord. We're going to do that in about 10 minutes or so, maybe even less. Jump over to the Discord. Get yourself a week free of RotoGrinders Premium. RotoGrinders.com/Discord. Live stream chat channel. Producer Steve has his post. Just click that post. Get yourself eligible for a week free of RG Premium. Or if you're a baller, you just want to pay for it, go for it. Go ahead and pay for it. You can get 6 months. You want to commit to 6 months, you get $250 off as opposed to going month by month by month. That would get you, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, golf, every sport you can think of with the absence of NASCAR. NASCAR is a la carte. You want just a month, get yourself $40 off for the first month. And all these links, by the way, are in the description. And you want to commit just to 3 days, it's $19.99. Check out the links in the description. Or again, get yourself over to the Discord and win yourself a week free of RG Premium. All right, I'm jumping over there. We have looks like K-Town 26 took down the tournament yesterday. So on Tuesdays, we run a contest. If you take down the contest, you get yourself a week free of RG Premium. That's what I'm seeing right now. And then, of course, you can't put a price on it, but the shout out on the show, K-Town 26, congrats on a week free of RG Premium. Yeah, Bliss not in the lineup, Raleigh not in, Garver and Moore are in the lineup. They were not expected. Richard Hidalgo is a name I did not expect to hear or say today. Chop probably remembers him. He had 50 homers for the Astros one year. I remember he was a thing. I think he was on Texas as well, the Rangers. He had a small window, but that guy had a lot of power for a short period of time. Do you remember Richard Hidalgo, Chop? You got
I remember Hidalgo. Sure. Yeah. Remember little Richard Hidalgo.
Hard-hitting Mark Whitten.
Some would say some of these guys were on the juice, is what some people are claiming.
Some would say that.
I don't know why. I don't know.
Some would probably say that. I don't want to be reckless and make accusations, but some would say that for sure. Squirrel, the cheapest pitcher you're willing to roster tonight is who?
Ooh, that's a good question. Probably Bryce Wilson.
Yeah. What is his ownership? I don't think there's really. Do we have any interest in this the Atlanta prospect. I was going to ask about him as well. Spencer
Schwellenbach.
I think he's like the 5th or 6th prospect on the Braves.
Schwellenbach, brother.
It's a good name, right?
I got some interest, Dean. I got some interest.
Okay, sell me on Schwellenbach. We'll jump back.
Well,
to,
first of all, I was pretty disappointed at this price tag. It's too dang high, right? Like, I'll still play him. One lineup I can't say I'm gonna play him. I don't know. He's in consideration, that's for sure. But I hate the price tag. I wish it was low. I wish it was in that Bryce. Not right. Yeah, Bryce Wilson. I could live with that, man. If it was in that range, it's a kind of a high for a guy who's never pitched in the big leagues before. But the good part about him, if I was going to try to sell you on him, aside from the price tag being terrible, is number one, Washington obviously struggles a little bit on offense. But this guy's actually pretty good. He is 2 years in 2022. He had the Tommy John surgery, so he pitched in 23, and he pitched this year. So he came off the Tommy John surgery. It was a slow ramp up, but these last couple of years, this last year especially, slowly but surely, he's getting back to the form that made him a good prospect. He's really, really talented, Dean. So I think there would have been room for him on a roster tonight had the price tag been a little bit better. But I still think he's in play for GPPs. If you run 150, I would definitely have him in there. It's still a solid price. It's just not the one I would want for a rookie that, isn't named Paul Skeens. I kind of want these guys to be cheaper, but he's not. But he's got the arm talent, let's put it like that. And it's not an imposing matchup. So he's in play.
Just over 10 Ks per 9 this year in 2024 for Schwellenbach. 23 years old. He's not like the top prospect in the team. According to FanGraphs, he's the 6th ranked prospect, not in the top 100 overall. But he's not a nobody, but he could be a somebody at some point. You have a take here, Squirrel, on Schwellenbach?
No, but he is, he's actually pretty cheap on FanDuel. I think he's like the 3rd most expensive pitcher. Third least expensive pitcher. So actually is cheaper than Bryce Wilson. I think you can go there. Yeah, I think, like Chop said, like if you're doing 150 lineups, and I probably will, then there is an argument you should have some Schwellenbach. We just have no idea what to expect. The numbers in single A and double A look fantastic, but what does that hold up in the major leagues? Usually not, but sometimes it's an indication. I mean, it's not this guy's fault that he was in double A, right? Because he was doing really well there. So I think you can go there, but you've got to have tempered expectations.
Speaking of tempered expectations, Squirrel, any interest in Alek Manoah? He's taking on the White Sox, but he's kind of been like the Chicago White Sox of pitchers for the last couple of years. I thought this guy was going to be a future Cy Young winner. I cannot believe his career arc. He looked so good a couple of years ago. Manoah, any pitcher versus the White Sox? Any interest in Manoah?
I think so. Yeah, I think you've got to have some Manoah. I probably wouldn't go there as like a core piece. It's not going to be like featured heavily in single entry lineups or anything like that. But I think for 150 set, I think you can absolutely go there because it's the White Sox. And he's had some good games, but he's mixed them in obviously with some bad games. So don't really know what to expect with him either. But it does, it is an appealing matchup against the White Sox. So if he's going to do well against a team, and he's done well against some teams recently, Tampa Bay and Minnesota, well, there's a good chance he can do well against the White Sox too.
I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that's kind of like worth talking about. It's a bunch of pitchers that sure you can roster them. Schwellenbach, by the way, expected 9% on DK. Wilson about 12%. Kirby 13. Gore 16. Lugo 18. 20% for Manoah is a pretty big number considering how bad he's been. But again, it's the White Sox, so I kind of get it.
Come on, Dean. Can I talk here about some pitching, man?
Please. I asked you before, and you said you're just like, I don't know. You blew me off.
I hate the first
you said I was
question.
asking too many questions.
I hate
so
that first question about what's your overview on that. That's so goofy. Yeah, don't involve me in that question. But first of all, StreamYard needs a thing where like I can push a button and it tells the host that I'm raising my hand because I want to comment on this subject. So when you start talking about Manoah, I'm trying to raise my hand. I think there's a place for Manoah tonight. Like he had I've obviously been terrible for a while now, but then he had the 2 good starts. He fooled everybody. And then the last start against Detroit, he got rocked again. But he's got something going there that's good. He got back on track. It's the matchup, Dean. They changed their lineup a little bit tonight. They benched it was already a weak lineup. They benched a couple guys. They got Corey Julks leading off. Man, like the whole knock on the White Sox against right-handers is they don't strike out as much. And yeah, there's not as many high strikeout guys in there, but there's still some strikeouts in that lineup for sure. And overall, it's probably the weakest lineup in Major League Baseball. At least this one on this slate is the way they've arranged these guys. So I definitely think there's room for Manoah to do something good tonight.
I kind of like Julks as like when we talk offense. But, he's got a little power, a little bit of speed. Former Houston Astro, right? He was on Houston, right, Chop? That's where he got his shine.
Houston Astros, former Houston Cougar too in baseball. You know who else is? Connor Wong is a former Houston Cougar, the Red Sox catcher. They put out some good. Robert Gasser, Milwaukee, former Houston Cougar. Man, these guys, they got some good talent down there.
It's disappointing. Gasser can't strike people out. What a bummer, right? Just think he would live up to. Doesn't work, Didn't
he just strike out like 8 guys yesterday or the day before?
Well, his K rate is 12% or something like that, which I think should be a little bit.
Small Sample Dean. That's your new nickname. Small Sample Dean.
You just said you've been hot for a week. How is that a big sample? And by the way, Chop, you don't need to buzz in. You can just jump in and just pounce. Join the conversation.
I like the idea of a behind the scenes hand raising, and then you can just. And now let's throw it to Chop for his analysis on Alek Manoah, as opposed to me just chiming.
Give me your address.
I don't want the people to I want it to be neutral. I don't want the people to see it, Dean. I want it to be a flawless process.
You don't want them to know that you're about to jump in?
Yeah. You just acknowledge it and acknowledge me, man.
I'm acknowledging you. I'm happy. We're happy to have you as always. All right. Anything else we need to focus on here as far as pitchers that you need to point out?
Well, you didn't let me talk about Gore. I would throw my 2 cents in on Gore. I think he's a good player.
You got to raise the paddle, Chop. You got to raise your paddle. You can jump in.
I was waiting for like 10 minutes for you to call on me for the Gore conversation, but you never did. I think he's all right. I think he's pretty good there. I usually don't want to go against Atlanta, but like you talked about, not only is Acuna not in there, just in general, the whole lineup. First of all, a lot of these guys aren't having career years like they did last year. So it's not as good as you might think. While there's a lot of quality in this lineup, there's also a whole lot of strikeouts. There's 6 guys in here that go over 23% K rate, and Mackenzie Gore strikes people out. He's got a good price tag. He's another guy that's on my short list of the two that are going to make my lineup tonight.
No extreme pitcher umpires or extreme hitter umpires for the record. People are always asking about that. I was just looking at the umpire stuff. No extremes. I would, if Heel's a guy that you want the extreme pitcher umpire because he'd get a little wild sometimes. But just wanted to note that wind blowing. Let's see. Javier is saying wind blowing. Is that out? Let's check the wind here. Oh, you know what? Weather Edge does not do a good job capturing Atlanta for whatever reason. But it should be heating up in Atlanta. It's heating up certainly down here in South Florida. It's ridiculous down here. It's probably in the mid-90s or so right now. Let's see. According to our weather page, what is the current temperature? Oh, it's only 79. Is that it? The wind is blowing out to about left center for Atlanta and Washington. 8.5 as far as the total. Atlanta Braves, but 4.6 as a specific team total. I'm trying to see. We're still waiting for the Angels, still waiting for the Yankees, still waiting for the Astros. We got every other lineup in, though. Those are later games, so no surprise. Probably get them during crunch time. Squirrel, anything else you want to say as far as pitchers? Anything we need to stress? Or you want to just give me the summary, if you don't mind? The Chop doesn't like the opening. I'm guessing he doesn't like the summary as far as pitchers either, so we'll leave that for you.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options. Ownership's not concentrating on any one pitcher. I think of the spend ups, the one I like the most is Luis Heel. I think best overall, Justin Verlander. That matchup against the Mariners is paying off all season. I think in the mid range, I think the guys that Mackenzie Gore, somebody we think might be underowned that could do really well. Alex Manoah, difficult to click on, but again a good matchup against the White Sox. I think Bailey Ober is in play. And then amongst the really cheap guys, I think Bryce Wilson is maybe the safest or the best really cheap guy that I like. And then Spencer Schwellenbach is total unknown, but he's got some upside, making his major league debut tonight.
Chop, is there anything you'd like to add?
Did we mention the name George Kirby yet? Or did we
Yeah,
mention did we?
yeah, we
Okay, I'll
mentioned
just throw his name out there. Just because I'm a follow the Astros, and I know that for some reason we don't hit George Kirby. Like he's had 5 starts against the Astros. The first one you take with a grain of salt. It was like his rookie year, I want to say. So he only pitched about 4 innings. After that, these last 4 starts against the Astros in his career, he's only given up 2 earned runs, and it's all been 6+ innings. So the whole divisional thing, seeing him frequently, doesn't really hold true here or whatever. So I think George Kirby's in play, even though he's not in good form right now. He's like a golfer, and you say, well, what's his form like right now? Right now, Kirby's not in good form, and I don't know why. Maybe they're just catching on to the throwing strikes thing, but I got to keep him on my list because he's only 8,500, and he has had a pretty good reign on the Astros, and this is not a good offense, Dean. I've been saying that for a while, but it's very, very top heavy, and is not particularly good when Jordan isn't really swinging lights out.
Chop, are we going to get the BVP suggestion today? I don't want to spoil it.
Yes.
But Jolks 1 for 1 in his
Wait a
career
minute.
against Alek Manoah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Dean. I'm glad you mentioned that. 750 people watching this thing. We better get some likes. Yeah, I'm not giving it out unless we get some likes. I don't know. I don't want to put them. No, I don't know the thresholds that we're looking at for the show. I'm not privy to the numbers behind the scenes. So maybe producer Steve can throw out a number, but we got to hit a number for me to give out my BVP suggestion of the day.
You know it when you see it. It basically is what you're saying. I gotcha. One more name. Javier's throwing out Flexen just because he's cheap, but I there's no way I'm rostering Flexen. Squirrel, you're running 150. Is Flexen in your pool? Not for me.
He will likely not be in the pool. Just not going to go there. Too cheap.
All right. Turn on those notifications, subscribe, hit the like button, do all those things. Crunch time coming in about a half hour. We're going to do our power rankings in a second when it comes to tiers and stacks. But before we do that, we got to bring producer Steve on to give away a week free of RG Premium. No more names. We gave you the warning. We're doing this before. We're spinning the wheel before we're doing the big board. So, Steve, if you're so kind, crank up the music and spin that wheel.
Shuffling it up. All right, here we go. This, you know who this is?
No.
K-Town's finest again. The guy who won the tournament yesterday. The guy who won the tournament last week.
If I had an aluminum hat, a tinfoil hat, you know what I would be saying right now?
You know what?
Very clearly rigged.
You know what? We can't take it away from him, so he's gonna win. But I'll spin it one more time.
Executive decision. Yeah, hook it up.
Yeah, congratulations, you won, but we're gonna give someone else a chance to. All right, here's the second winner. Cloud LLC. All right.
Shout out to the winners.
Yeah, I will tag you guys in Discord. Congratulations.
Steve, I believe we tasked you with coming up with a board. I see Squirrel had one as well for our stacks. Pretty similar. Did you have the ability to throw it up on the screen now? We were kind of throwing out a bunch of names as the show has progressed, but I think we got our 5.
I didn't get to change it to Squirrels, but mine's kind of similar.
Yeah, you got your Homer Mike Piazza pick in there. You got to shout out Piazza. Why not?
I put him towards the bottom.
Yeah.
But, Ken Griffey Jr., he's who I think about around that era. I think he was, to me, one of the coolest players back then. Bonds has to be second because you just think of sluggers and home runs as Bonds. Sosa is kind of like a Homer-ish pick because my nickname was Sosa, and that's from a rapper. But the rapper's nickname was Sosa from Sammy Sosa because he's from Chicago. So that's a little connection. And then also with those guys, with those big names, he wasn't anywhere near my favorite, but McGuire has to be on the list.
Yeah, but you threw him in the 5 spot though. Was that like, now is this TJ style where you rank your top 5, or like you're saying
I
McGuire
had to rank top 5 because I thought it was a little bit hard to like pick a low tier.
Yeah, Brady Anderson was the one I think the Squirrel put in there. That's the one that made the most sense. But you probably, I think, are you old enough to remember Brady Anderson's one year where he had 50 homers and just kind of disappeared after that?
No, I don't.
Just kind of came out of nowhere. But yeah, it was just an anomaly. Who knows how that happened? But yeah, he had 50 homers. I think it might have been a contract year, and good for him. Yeah, that's who Squirrel had at the bottom. Bold call putting Griffey at the top, but I get it. And you mentioned like the sweetest swing in baseball. Something about lefties when they connect. His swing is spectacular. Rafael Palmeiro in check, getting thrown out there. He was you can only put 5 on the board. So like there's a lot of good names being thrown out there, a lot of good nominees. But maybe we'll get to them another day. Let's go ahead and throw our stacks, our teams in the appropriate category. The number one game, the first game that we're going to be talking about is Washington. Washington at the Braves. Mackenzie Gore versus Spencer Schwellenbach. 8.5 total. Atlanta -150 favorite. We got to go to Squirrel here. This is his Nats, so Squirrel gets to lead things off for us. Where are we putting Washington and Atlanta? Man, I love C.J. Abrams. Just kind of throwing it out there. It's like an interesting tournament play because who knows what you're going to get out of Schwellenbach. First game, maybe he's nervous, walks Abrams right up the gate. Abrams, steals some bases, annoys him. Just kind of throwing it out there. You probably thought about this already too, but what do you got here, Squirrel? Washington and Atlanta.
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a little bit controversial, but I'm putting the Nationals at Barry Bonds, just because they lead the league in steals, or at least tied for the league in steals, and I'm gonna put the Braves at Sammy Sosa. I think they're just too expensive. They've got a bad matchup against Mackenzie Gore, in my opinion. I like playing Gore. I think more than playing Atlanta. I'll probably have more Mackenzie Gore than Atlanta stacks. So yeah, there it is. And, it's a weird looking thing right off the bat here because, Atlanta's favored, but yeah, I like the Nationals as a stack a little bit more.
Chop, no reason to buzz in or to raise your hand or to raise your paddle. We're just going to throw it to you. You get to retort. If you agree, by all means, spectacular. If not, I will decide the difference. That's when I come in. But do you agree with these rankings?
For the most part, I had Atlanta and Sammy Sosa also. I just don't know, I don't love them. I think it's a tough matchup, and it's a weaker lineup, but it is a left-hander, and they do have some guys in the lineup who theoretically or on paper look pretty good against lefties. So I'm good with that one. I had Washington a tier below that because while it's a young guy and you don't know what you're going to get, you don't know what you're going to get. He might actually go out there and shut him down for 5 innings, maybe 5-6 innings, who knows, and then you get in a competitive game against the best part of the opposition's bullpen, and So I had them both in the Sammy Sosa category.
I would just say Gore doesn't have like a big split. Getting back to last season, his WOBA versus lefties is 391. His WOBA versus righties 331. Now he's given up more power to righties, but he's given up more hits to lefties. So if you're playing Atlanta, do not be afraid to play Matt Olson. Like you shouldn't be anyway. Kelnick probably wouldn't be in the lineup if not for the injuries there. He doesn't start, or he wouldn't start left on left. But again, all the injuries for Atlanta, Acuna especially, that's why he cracked the lineup. Chop, you're going to lead us off here as far as this next game. It is Toronto. Toronto at Chicago. 8.5 is a total. Toronto very close to a 5 total. Schneider, Varsho jumped up to the 2 spot. Vladdy, Bichette, Turner, Springer. We have Alejandro Kirk jumping in there for Jansen. No Jansen today. IKF. And then the outlaw, Kevin Kiermaier against Chris Flexen, locked in for 9. Where do you have the Blue Jays and the White Sox, Chopper?
The White Sox are going in the Mike Piazza category for me. Some say Piazza had a little sugar in his tank. I don't know about that, but I'm putting the White Sox in this category. I think Manoah might be all right. So I'm going to be able to say. Now, Toronto, I'm going up to the Barry Bonds category because Flexen kind of stinks. And Toronto's kind of got some hitters that are starting to turn it around a little bit. I don't mind it. And so I'm going up there.
Yeah, Flexen, not enough strikeouts, 17% Ks in the season. A few too many walks, 8%. A few too many fly balls, a few too many homers, 1.47. I like Toronto a good bit as well. Squirrel, any issues? Shall we adjust or we're good?
I actually like both those rankings. Yeah, I agree. I think the White Sox are playable, but not great. So I'd have them in the Mike Piazza category. You don't know if Alex Manoah is going to blow up, but not a good hitting team either. And then Toronto looks pretty good. I mean, their line kind of keeps creeping up throughout the day. So I think they're definitely in play. They're not too expensive, so I think it's Barry Bonds territory.
Got the Angels lineup. Chanel leading off. Rengifo, Ward, Calhoun, Ohapi, Adele, Moniak, Zeto, and Zach Neto. I don't know why I combined his name like that. And then Guillerme. I feel like that's a good strikeout matchup where you want Adele in there for sure against Heel. We'll pull up the plate IQ in a second when that all adjusts, but we'll talk about that shortly because we have a few more games to get to. Chicago at Milwaukee. 7.5 total. Almost had a no-hitter last night. It was an awesome play by Bellinger in center field. I think it was Bellinger. Robbing a homer, keeping a no-hitter alive. Milwaukee eventually got their hit, I think, in the 8th inning or so. They went extras, and then the Cubs blew it wide open. Imanaga versus Bryce Wilson, 7.5 total. Chicago, pretty clear favorite here, minus 152. Squirrel, Cubbies, Brewers. What do you got?
I would probably put the Brewers down at Mark McGwire. They're just near the bottom of the list for me. I'd rather bank on Alex Manoah, blowing up and have the White Sox a category above them. I think the Brewers belong down there in the Mark McGwire category. Cubs, put them in Mike Piazza. Like not really dying to play them. Doesn't seem like it's going to be a good hitting environment. So, I think Cubs, Piazza, Brewers, McGwire.
Chop?
It's not that far off from what I had in mind. I have Brewers in the Mike Piazza category, so I can live with that one. Just the only reason I had them in Piazza is because you mentioned it earlier. It's what kind of looks like at some point Imanaga is going to regress a little bit. Now, is it going to be tonight? I don't know. But at some point he is. So I had maybe on the off chance I moved him up, but I can live with the Mark McGwire. And the Cubs, I don't know what to think about them. So I had them at Sammy Sosa category. I'm kind of completely neutral on them.
Yeah, Chop, you do you pre-rank your teams, though. I feel like you do, right? You already have it mapped out? Is that something you do? Absolutely.
What Dean, anything else would be totally unprepared and unprofessional.
Well, no, like Squirrel knows what he doesn't have him actually in the categories, not to speak for Squirrel, but he kind of knows where to go, right? He has a thought process like of what he's doing in Milwaukee, but he's probably not thinking, Milwaukee tier 5 for sure. Maybe he is, but are you suggesting that you're more prepared than Squirrel because you do that and he doesn't?
Absolutely not. I think Squirrel does a great job on these shows. There are guys that we have interacted with on here who I thought, this guy just came off the beach and is jumping on the show without any reason. There's absolutely guys like that. But Squirrel is not one of them. Squirrel is not one of them.
You just want to throw that grenade out there and then walk away?
Again, professionalism.
Well, I mean, the professionalism
Bobby Gomes.
Bobby Gomes is, I don't know if he's got a guilty conscience or not, but he is hanging out in chat and just saying, he says, seems like a shot at me. There you go. How close is Bobby to the beach? I don't know. Probably a pool nearby, I would imagine. But okay.
You're only feeling like that comment is, if you are feeling like that comment is directed at you, it's probably something within your own conscience that you're doing pre-show that's making you feel that. I'm not saying nothing to nobody. I mentioned no names.
You said something. You didn't say a full something.
I didn't say, but I mentioned nobody's name because if you're not doing it, like Kirk Beast isn't sitting there in chat going, God, is he talking about me? Because Kirk is prepared, man. I've seen the way he gets ready for these shows, man. Like he is.
Sure.
He's Chris Paul before a game. Like he's just
a playoff game or a regular season game.
Going over everything, Dean. He's going over. But if you're coming to the show and you know who you are. That's all I'm gonna say.
Kansas City versus Minnesota, 7.5 total. Bailey over minus 136 favorite versus Seth Lugo. Not a big total here, obviously. This is Oh, you know what? I forget whose board it is. Is it your board, Chop? I think you're setting it, correct? Kansas City, Minnesota?
Yes, my turn, brother.
Go for it.
I mean, this is a kind of a weird one, but first off, Minnesota, I'm going to put them down there in the Mike Piazza category. Lugo, is he going to regress to, other parts of his career at some point? I don't know, man. He's really good this year, though. He's been really good, so I don't want to tempt it too much, even though there is some power in that lineup. And KC, I'm going to put right where they are in the Sammy Sosa because, again, Bailey Ober's not going to surrender like a ton. He's pretty steady with his quality starts, kind of. I don't know if he quite matches that credit, but he very rarely gets run out of the game early. So he's solid, but KC also has some really good hitters in there. And I think the lineup's a tad bit weaker today than normal, but that's fine. So I'm going to put him in the Sammy Sosa.
The lineup for Kansas City: Garcia, Witt, Perez, Frazier's batting cleanup. Oh, you know what it is? Vinny P. Despite it being what is the Wednesday for Vinny P? I don't remember what it is for Wednesday, but yeah, there's no Vinny. He got hurt yesterday. I don't know how serious it is. Adam Frazier cleaning up. Velasquez, Lofton, Melendez, Renfroe, and Isbell. Yeah, it is definitely a weaker Kansas City lineup. Jump in here, Squirrel, as far as KC and Minnesota.
Yeah, actually, I think those rankings look pretty good. It's interesting because KC's got lower implied run total than Minnesota, so you feel like they should be lower than the Twins there. But KC can steal some bases. I think they're seventh in steals in the league, and also when we talk about playing Kansas City, I want to play Bobby Witt. I don't want to be playing a lot of the other Royals hitters. I think Bobby Witt and them having some power at the catcher position with Sally Perez. Yeah, I think that puts them in Sammy Sosa, even though they've got a lower implied run total than the Twins. And yeah, I think the Twins there in Piazza is about right. I could see them being McGuire even, but we'll keep them in Piazza.
Just throwing it out there, Ober has been awesome at holding on runners. Just one stolen base this year in 52 innings. Last year, 144 innings, 3 stolen bases. The year before, 1 in 56 innings, 3 in 92. Only 8 in his career in 344 innings. So not saying he's not going to give up any, but it's really hard to steal on him. And I'm not sure if that's also in part because the battery, I don't know, the catcher as well, but looks like a tough stolen base matchup. Squirrel, you are up next. That's Cleveland. Oh, you got Coors, almost a 6 total for the Guardians, taking on Ty Block. And he's a lefty. You're almost definitely for sure going to get righties to follow. Not 10.5 total, bigger piece of that pie, of course, going to Cleveland. Again, almost a 6 total here. What are you doing with the Guardians? Of course, they're going to be popular. And the Rockies have almost a 5 total against Logan Allen. So we should acknowledge that as well. Guardians, Rockies, Squirrel.
Yeah, I think you got to put Cleveland. They are the Guardians now in Ken Griffey Jr. I kind of looked for a good portion of the day for some reasons not to play Cleveland. And it just there's no reasons out there. I mean, they're expensive and they're going to be high owned, and so those would be the reasons. But they are good against left-handed pitching. They have more power this year than people give them credit for. I think we are used to last season where they don't strike out. They string these singles together and never put up a high fantasy score. It's not really what they're doing this year. And last night was kind of put some icing on that cake when I was looking at some of the numbers. Yeah, I mean they hit home runs. So Rockies, I'll put them up in Barry Bonds. People never like to play the Rockies at home, but it is it's heating up in Colorado. They have about a 5 implied run total. This is not some lopsided line where it's like, oh, Cleveland's minus 250 or something against the Rockies. I mean, this is about an even matchup. So I think you've got to put the Rockies in there for consideration in Barry Bonds. I think they'll be under-owned. I mean, they're not like my favorite raw number stack, but people just don't play them. So yeah, put them up at Barry Bonds.
I got called out for it yesterday, Scroll. You mentioned I was like, yeah, Cleveland, they don't really have a ton of power. And I was just going in the robot tout mode, but yeah, you're right. They were 11 or 12 in ISO coming to the game last night, and I would imagine that's moved up, if anything, because they smashed baseballs last evening. We saw J-Ram smashing. We saw Josh Naylor smashing. David Fry, there's some like sticker shock on his price, but he's been awesome, especially against lefties. Probably only get 2 at-bats there versus Ty Block, but still. Jonathan Rodriguez is a cheapie. Now, there's a chance he might get hooked. Just sort of thinking about that. I'm curious where I meant to look at, see what the bat has for his potential pinch hit risk if when a righty comes in. We also have the backup catcher in Hedges, so situation call sport, maybe we get Bo Naylor, but sure. You always it's nice to have a cheap catcher, maybe an expensive catcher too. Fry is catcher eligible as well. Chop, we have Ken Griffey Jr. hanging out with Cleveland, and we have the Rockies hanging out with Barry Bonds. Are we good with that? Any issues?
That is where I had both teams ranked, so I have no problems with that. I will throw out there, Cleveland. Yeah, okay, we know all about that. Colorado's got a nice little lineup. They stink, in general, not a lot going on there. But they had almost all right-handers tonight, minus their best hitter, who's actually pretty good against lefties, lefty on lefty anyway. So I don't mind that little lineup right there. I think it's pretty good. And if for Cleveland, I don't even like – I usually try to – I look at the salaries of catchers, and I kind of want a cheapish one. I don't want to totally punt the thing, but I don't want to spend up at catcher. But Fry really makes you rethink that strategy, because he's really not a catcher. He's kind of like an outfielder, position player who's really, really good, and doesn't get caught being really as volatile as a lot of catchers. So if you're ever going to spend up on a catcher, he's the guy to do it, man. At least right now.
And Logan Allen against righties this year. You mentioned mostly a right-handed lineup here for Colorado. 238 ISO, that's too high. A 390 WOBA, that's too high as well. I know that Colorado team is not very daunting, but there's some pieces. And McMahon, like you mentioned, left on left, still 234 ISO this season, really good. 427 WOBA, that's really strong as well. Montero, no extra base hits, 49 at bats, a 0 ISO. That's kind of interesting. Not saying you can't play him, but that's not good. And Doyle, a 68 ISO, and Rogers, a 49 ISO. All 3 of those just completely horrendous. That is just terrible. Okay, 2 more games till we knock out all the sets. We're probably going to have some time for questions, some chat. Crunch time's coming in about 10 minutes or so. We got Will coming in. We have Carty coming in, as well as Kevin Roth. Weather-wise, I want to give a refresh, but I think we're pretty clean. Green, yellow in Colorado, yellow, orange in Baltimore. That's not in our slate, so we don't really care about it. But if you are doing something with that game, do consult the weather report, because yellow, orange is worth noting, if nothing else. Do hit that like button. We got to get a certain number of likes to get. We know the number is. We get a certain number. Chop will give us his BBP suggestion of the day. I imagine he's got some knockers for the people as well. And Squirrel probably has some nuts hanging out for the people as well. So, yeah, we got 10 minutes until we yield to crunch time. 2 more games, 125 likes. We got to get to 125. The bar has been set by producer Steve. Okay, somebody in chat was asking about if LeMahieu is back for the Yankees. He is. He came back last night. He's not very good anymore, but, he's cheap, if nothing else. No Yankee lineup just yet, but he is projected to be in this lineup. 8.5 total, over a 5 total for the New York Yankees. They're big boy favorites. Minus 210. Luis Gil taking on Tyler Anderson. Somebody was asking about Gil. Yeah, he's still wild, but he still strikes out the world. And you never really know what you're going to get. But the K's certainly get you excited about his potential upside. This is Chop's board. Yankees and the Angels.
Yeah, we're going to need the elevator for this one, Dave. We're going to need the elevator, because I'm going to start off on the bottom floor here in Mark McGwire with the Angels. There's zero reason I really want to attack not only Luis Gil, but arguably the best bullpen, one of the best bullpens in the game. There's just not a lot to like about the Angels stack. I like them a lot more against left-handed pitching and left-handed pitching that's marginal, but not against a good righty. So, no. Then I'm going to take that elevator all the way up to Ken Griffey for the Yankees, because although Tyler Anderson's all right, the numbers aren't going to tell you that he's terrible or anything. It's the Yankees against a left-handed pitcher. I think that the power of that lineup, man, you just never know. Like, they could just go for – and they hit home runs. They don't play around with singles and stuff like that. When they're on, they crank it out the yard. Even even Juan Soto lefty on lefty. I kind of don't want to pay that price tag for that in a cash game, but in a GPP, bring it on, man. So yeah, Yankees all the way up top.
Heel, by the way, has been a little bit better as far as this control of late. Just 2 walks last start, just 2. 1 the previous start versus Chicago. That's when he struck out 14 White Sox. And 2 the previous start versus Tampa. But they will pop up on occasion. He had that 7 walk outing against Toronto earlier in the year, 4 against Houston. A little bit better. And this Angel lineup is not patient. If you fire up the old plate IQ, first 3 hitters, they're patient, 8%, 9%, 8%. But beyond that, it's 6, 7, 3%, 7% as far as grabbing walks, 7.1% collectively. So not the most patient lineup. Some power, though. Outside of Chanel and Guillermo, there has been some power in the middle there. Are we good with this, Squirrel? Yankees all the way at the top with Griffey. Angels all the way at the bottom with McGuire. Does that check out for you?
Yeah, I agree. I think the Yankees absolutely one of the best stacks on the night. The power there is undeniable. I'll say I'm a little bit more interested maybe on FanDuel or maybe on DraftKings as like a 3-man stack or 4-man stack. Once you start getting past like 4 hitters, it's tough to figure out who you would play. Angels, I was going to say like Mike Piazza, but I don't know. I mean, maybe Luis Gil like loses it tonight. And the Angels are the stack you need to have. I can't think of an Angels hitter I really want to play. Maybe Logan will hop. I don't know. Yeah, so it's either Piazza or Mark McGuire, and I'm fine with him in McGuire.
All right, bring it home for a Squirrel. Verlander, Kirby, 2 good pitchers, 7 total. Basically a coin toss according to Vegas. Seattle slight favorite at -116. Where are we putting the Astros and the Mariners?
So, best pitchers park in baseball, so it's going to be towards the bottom there. I would put the Astros probably at Mark McGuire. I'd probably rather play Verlander than Kirby. But
Oof.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to put the Astros there in McGuire, and I'll put the Mariners in Piazza. Mariners strike out a ton, but they also can get some steals, hit some homers. So not a great matchup for them at home, but I'll put them in Piazza and the Astros in McGuire.
Jose Abreu is back, right? So I just want to make sure you understand that Abreu's back. So you sure you want to stick with Houston down there with McGuire?
It's tempting, but I will keep them in the McGuire category.
Wow, that is that is a pretty well. You said the best pitchers park in baseball. Was that you just throwing it out there? Is that for sure? Like I'm not saying you're wrong. Is that statistically speaking so far this season? Or I think San Fran or Oakland, but they're probably in the same tier basically.
I do the Major League Baseball park factors 3-year rolling average by runs at Seattle.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I figured they were top 5, but I wouldn't have put them number 1. But that's worth noting. Chop, are you going to stick with the Astros all the way at the bottom, hanging out with McGuire? You want to argue against it? Seattle with Piazza?
No, I'm not arguing against that one, Dean. They deserve to be down there in the Mark McGuire category. They stink. They're pretty gutless, and Kirby's owned them in his career. So, maybe there's an off chance that Kirby is really legit struggling right now with an injury. Maybe he's got an injury we don't even know about, right? And that's what's causing him to have these issues the last couple games. But if he's even vaguely his old self, I don't want any piece of the Astros. I'm fine with that. The Mariners, I actually had them bumped up one category to Sosa category because, Verlander's typically not getting through games anymore clean. He's going to give up home runs in just about every outing. Something he's going to give up. Mariners do have power. There's an off chance he has a bad game, which comes more and more frequently these days. So you never know what you're going to get. Outside of Josh Hader and Brian Abreu in the bullpen, I'm not worried about a lot of that bullpen. So if you have to get in there, if you get a 3-4 run lead and you're getting that piece of the bullpen, you're probably in pretty good shape if you're Seattle. So I don't mind bumping over. On the off chance they can get some home run power, I put them in the Sosa category.
I see Eric's talking about Verlander over 6.5 Ks as a potential player prop. Anybody have a thought on that or any player props in general? Scrolling any player props to the people tonight? Have you been in those streets tonight or not so much for you?
Yeah, I haven't looked at the player props so much. 6.5 Ks. I don't know. It's it's the best strikeout matchup in baseball. So I don't know if you necessarily need to go out and hedge that.
Trying to see what. Let's see. Okay, so I was just going to mention the squad ride, and I just missed it. Squad ride today was an afternoon play. Squad rides have been hot. It was David Peterson under 5.5 strikeouts, and it looks like it hit. So shout out to those that are riding the squad. That's also the Discord channel, free Discord channel. Every single day, one pick from the Scores and Odds team is highlighted by somebody takes somebody else's pick. We all bet the same thing, and I just missed it. I didn't realize it was an afternoon game, but Stevie, I guess Stevie's on a roll. He's won a couple here in a row. If you guys bet the squad, David Peterson less than 5.5 strikeouts. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on those notifications. I see some questions coming in. We'll talk about those in a second. Load up a couple more. Chop, did we get enough likes? Or I guess I should ask producer Steve, enough likes to fire up the old BBP suggestion model? I'm not sure if we have enough or not. In theory, we should. Maybe we can get them to hit it now, and we can go to Squirrel first. Squirrel, you got some homers? Oh, we do have enough. Okay, good job. Good job, everybody. Wasn't that hard. Chop, fire it up. I know it takes a long process to get your model warmed up. Lots of bells, lots of whistles.
No, it's an algorithm.
What are you coming up with for?
It's an algorithm, Dean. It's straight up it's like boom, like that. I push the button before the show and it pops it back. You'd be surprised what you can do with Chat GPT and AI these days, Dean. You can do anything you want, man. BBP suggestion of the day. There were some guys that were really fringe on this one, but I'm just going to go with the low hanging fruit and go Bobby Witt. All right, I'm going Bobby Witt. BVP suggestion of the day.
Let's see. What has he done? How many at bats does he possibly even have? Let's see. I'm trying to find Bobby Witt, what he's done in his career against Bailey Ober. Okay, 7 for 13. He's got 1 homer, 2 strikeouts, no walks. This isn't the best BB. I mean, he's really good, Bobby Witt, obviously, but just there's not a lot of options. Is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, it's a smaller slate. There's not a lot out there. The model. It just some guys will throw out there. Oh, this guy's 4 for 5 versus this pitcher. Well, my model's not going to pick up on that. That's not enough, Dean. That's not enough sample size right there. I need at least twice that many at bats. But it is what it is. This is the guy that popped the most today.
Okay, fair enough. Do you have you got knockers? Knockers for the people, Chop?
I do have I do, Dean. You want me to drop some knockers right now?
Drop it on the people.
Drop some knockers on your head. Here's what I got, Dean.
Well, my head,
this one goes out. This one goes out to Butthole Jenkins because he suggested this a couple weeks ago, and I was like looking at it today, and I was like, oh, you know what? This is a good time to drop these. He suggested some mosquito bite knockers. Now, what these are, Dean? I don't know if you're familiar with the phrase mosquito bite knockers, but
I know what a mosquito bite is.
Yes. Okay. So what we're doing here is we're going deep diving here, Dean. I'm going with, for the first time ever, an 8-9 combination. Oh. Sean Bouchard, Hunter Goodman in the Colorado lineup. 8-9. Small salaries here, Dean. Hence the name Mosquito Bites. 3,700, 3,800. That's the knockers today, brother.
Do you have a Squirrel? You got the nuts for the people?
Sure. We'll go Dalton Varsho. I think hitting second for Toronto. Gary Sanchez catching from Milwaukee.
Some questions I saw popping up in chat. I saw somebody asking about Ruiz and cash for DK. Yeah, if you want to save salary, I think Ruiz is perfectly fine. If you have the salary, David Fry, but you probably can't get there in cash. That's probably a hard one to justify. 5K in cash, certainly for tournaments. Obviously, an awesome play, but I think Ruiz works. 2.4K against who knows what, but we're going to get Atlanta, and he's hitting 5th here. If I had a little bit more money, I would take Kirk, but if you just want to flat out fully punt it, I think Ruiz is perfectly fine as your cash game catcher and just kind of move on. Is there somebody that you're afraid of not having enough of, Squirrel? This is kind of like the expert survey question. Is there a player? Is there a stack that you're, for whatever reason, just not making your builds and you're afraid this might beat you?
I would go with like Shota Managa, just because, like, what if the high-priced hitters just flail and all bust, and then he has he has another great game. that would probably be the guy I'm most worried about.
Chop, how about yourself?
Yeah, Dean. Okay, I'll give you a name that I'm really scared to be like not have like one lineup. I'm either overweight on my entire lineup or I'm underweight on the rest.
Aaron
of
Judge?
Yes,
It's always Aaron Judge.
but I'm not sure. I can't say for sure that I'm not going to play him. I just don't know yet. But there's only so many $6,000+ guys you can play, and you kind of really want Jose Ramirez. So I'm not saying I'm not going to play him, but man, there's a chance I fade Aaron Judge, and that's really. That's a scary thought.
We got a little sweat in the battery today, boys. I don't know if we can hang on or not. We got a chance to finish third. We'll see. We need punts and field goals. I don't know. We need pop outs and ground outs, I suppose. A little bit of a. Oh, and that's with Darvish and his 2.55 fantasy points. Oh, geez. Why would I? What am I doing? What a chalk donkey I am playing Darvish in single entry. 85% owned. Me and everybody else. All right. Crunch time should be coming in momentarily. We got Will, we have Carty, we have Roth. Trying to see if there's anything else I missed in the chat. I'm looking for more questions, and I don't think I have any. Josh Naylor against lefties. We're not skipping Josh Naylor just because he's facing a lefty, right? He's only going to get 2 at-bats. Yeah, I mean, Squirrel, I assume you have plenty of Naylor tonight in your stacks?
Yeah, I think you can play Naylor.
Aaron's saying Darno double dong tonight. Maybe he gets 1. Probably neither. Let's see. Squirrel, give me the best third baseman, 4,600 or less. Does not give a site, but I presume that's got to be DK. 4,600 or less on DK third base. What do you got for me?
I'd probably go Dylan Moore. That might not make sense if you're playing Verlander, but I think Moore is like too good of a hitter to be 4,200. It's also shortstop eligible. Let's say you are playing Verlander, I'd maybe go Christopher Morel.
I love the Morel call. I feel like we didn't talk about the Cubs enough. I think he's pretty interesting. Izzy is trolling me, asking me who's the hitter with the most at bats without homering this season since Keith hit one. I did point that out the other day. I'm like, yeah, he is not homered. He's the guy with the most at bats without a home run because Rye is homered. He was the guy that was in the lead. I don't know who's next, top of the head, to be honest. But if I mention that person, they will probably homer for all I know. Eric wants to know how many buttons Carty will have undone today. 3.5 is the over-under. That's a big number. I think 2.5 is the sharp number. How many are undone or how many are actually buttoned? 3.5 on, yeah. 3.5 is too much. That's too high, right? Squirrel, I think that's too high.
Yeah, it's too high. I'd say even 2.5. I think you'd have to go choose to the under.
I think so. I'm pretty sure that was
3 buttons or more. If you're 3 buttons or more unbuttoned,
yeah, where are you at? Like the stomach,
3+ buttons, 3+ buttons. You're practically a Cuban drug dealer by then, brother.
Oh God, Chop. Jacob wants to know. This is for you, Chop. Guardians 5-man stack, no J-Ram, but Judge single entry. That is definitely a way to be different. Now you need Judge to do something, and you need J-Ram to be quiet because there's going to be a lot of Cleveland stacks out there with J-Ram. But I don't hate that thought process. How do you feel about that, Chop?
No, I'm good. Like, it's tough to get more than one of those guys at that salary if you're spending a decent amount on pitching. So just swapping them out and hope they pitch around Ramirez today, and that they cannot pitch around Judge. But I don't hate it at all.
Scroll, no context outside of just Tovar versus Volpe. Who do you prefer? Michelle wants to know Tovar versus Volpe. Volpe probably leading off on the road, well positioned for those 5 ABs. Tovar, of course, at home in Coors.
Yeah, so I have them projected at the exact same number. Whichever one you're using in the stack, maybe lean towards like Tovar. He might see a little bit lower ownership, than the guy leading off for the Yankees.
Everybody's like phrasing their statements in the form of a question. It's just like Salvi Perez goes yard tonight? ? Ron Burgundy. Eric is saying twin stack for the win. Maybe, not really sure. Who can answer these questions is Crunch Time. They are all assembled. Assemble! The conch shell has been blown into. We got Kevin Roth. We have Derek Carty. We'll see how many buttons are buttoned or not buttoned. We'll see who's going to pay paper on that one. And, of course, we have Will, the Chief. Let's bring on Crunch Time right now. They were setting the line, Derek Carty, for 3.5. How many buttons? Are you counting them, Roth? You counting them up?
Yeah,
Roth?
I'm only counting two one button. Is that it?
I think it's just 2.
Somebody had some inside information, I think.
Squirrel killed it. Squirrel nailed that bet. I thought we were going 3 easy. I thought it was easily a 3-button day.
Roth, anything eventful happened in the last 3 hours in your life?
Yeah, you, like a donkey, played Yu Darvish. Even I said on the last Crunch Time show, I don't know how you can play a guy that nobody really likes at 85% ownership. And you did it. You did it, Dean.
Yeah, I'm not that smart sometimes.
I guess a lot of people did it. He was 85% owned. You weren't alone.
Yeah, and have you heard the Marlins are bad? I know you don't follow baseball a ton, but you've probably heard a few bad things about the Marlins here and there.
Yeah, no, I've heard that, but I've also heard when there's one pitcher who's 85% owned, and you don't even think he's that good, you probably shouldn't get on board with that.
Did you see the other names though? But no, you're right. It's
TJ played 150 with zero Darvish.
Well, he's probably having a good day then. He's probably doing all right.
Yeah.
I assume he's doing okay. He's going to win himself a fair bit of loonies and toonies. All right, we have to step aside and get out of here and make way for crunch time. Let's Squirrel, Chop. You guys got anything else for the road? Yeah. Oh, Chop's out. Chop got his mic. He can't even say it. Can't verbalize anything. But all right, we're gonna get Chop a paddle. Roth? We were talking about. Chop wasn't happy that I guess I wasn't calling on him enough. But I don't know. We got to get buzzers, like Jeopardy, or a paddle where you kind of raise, let him acknowledge me kind of paddle. What do you think? We got to throw some ideas. I don't know.
Well, I think if you give Chop a paddle, it's going to be used in inappropriate ways, and it'll just be a good bit in general. I say go with the paddle.
All right, Chop, you got to send me your address. Is that cool? You trust me having your address?
Dean, I don't need you to buy me a paddle, man. It defeats the whole purpose of what I was trying to tell you, man. Okay, just for the record, before I get out of here, I don't want a paddle. I just want a StreamYard feature where I can push a button here that tells the host I'm raising my hand. I want to comment on this subject, instead of, having to interrupt him and chime in. That's all I was saying. I don't need a paddle. Yeah, that would be nice. That's all I'm saying. Dean's got to take everything and bend it and twist it. And I don't know. Maybe he wants me to get up. Maybe Dean wants me to come over and paddle him. I don't know what's going on here, guys. This is some weird stuff, but let's get out of here, Dean. We got to let the
Roth's prophecy proves true in 12 seconds. He was correct. If you had the under on 12 seconds, you got there for sure. All right. For myself, for Chop, for Squirrel Patrol, win some money tonight. Hit that like button, subscribe, turn on notifications. Don't go anywhere. Still 40 minutes of action. You got Roth, you have Will, you have Carty. Roth, take it away.
Good stuff, as always. Welcome to it, ladies and gents. It is crunch time. Dude, Chop, I don't know if that he's just playing an elaborate character and he's been doing it for decades, but that dude just cracks me up every time. Good stuff, good show, as always. Joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. We got Derek Carty in the house. Only 2 buttons undone, but even though you're buttoned up, I hope you're ready to bring the goods. What's up, Carty?
Oh, I'm definitely ready. How's it going?
I'm feeling good. I kind of like this slate because there's no weather to worry about. So I approve of what's going on in that capacity. We got Chief as well in the house. What up, Chief?
Nothing much, man. Doing good. I don't get to hang out with Carty as much during baseball season. I thought this was an NFL show today, so glad to come on. And,
it's good to see you.
Chat with my good friend, yeah, for sure. And hopefully we can help some people make some money.
Okay, very good. Well, in that vein of maybe making some money, I have a bet that I would like to, I think, recommend. And I don't think I've ever done this. And I'm not saying this is a stone cold lock or anything like that, but I like the under in pitching innings in Baltimore for a likely early delay. I think there's a line of storms that probably moves in, I don't know, 4th inning-ish. And it's kind of in that time frame where I don't know if they'd send pitchers back out again afterwards. Now, this is not a guarantee. I don't want anybody betting their mortgage on it. It could very well not work out at all, and I'm looking like a donkey.
You said this in Baltimore, right?
Yeah, in Baltimore. I think it is likely that they'll see a delay, and I don't know.
I took Burns under 18.5 anyway, so
I was going to say, I had Burns 18.5.
Yeah, so wait, we like that bet anyways?
Fantastic.
Great. Okay. Anyways,
Cutter Crawford under 17.5 plus 110 is out there too. That especially for throwing in rain risk, that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to go bet that.
Okay, there we go. All right, it's a first. It's a first on this show. Hopefully, it works out. Bootleg Head Chopper says, "I sold my house and now have 121K to spend betting it out." You've got impressive limits on your sports books if you can do that. Good for you, man. Dean pointing out 99 days till the start of NFL. Is that correct? That seems crazy.
It is correct, though.
All right, I guess
we're hitting June right now, pretty much by the end of the week.
All right, very good. We're here to dive into this baseball slate. I mentioned the only weather note that I have is in Baltimore. That game's not on the slate, so nobody really cares. And that brings us into this slate and into pitchers. And Derek Carty, that is a Carty specialty, picking out the pitchers. Maybe there's a cheapie that you like. Do tell.
Yeah, not really a lot of cheapies tonight. Like there's a couple I think you can mix in tournaments, but there's kind of a cluster at the top of like maybe 5 guys that all project pretty similarly, and they're all fairly expensive. Bailey Ober's probably the best of them, and he's also one of the more reasonably priced of them. So I think Ober's your guy in cash on both sites, and then it's kind of just a matter of who you're pairing them with on DraftKings and what you're doing with the other guys in tournaments. So the other guys kind of in that mix are like Shoto Imanaga, Luis Gil, Alek Manoah, George Kirby, Justin Verlander. They're all like the same play, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, the guy that projects for the lowest ownership of the bunch is Kirby, and he's also on the lower end in terms of salary. So I think Kirby makes a lot of sense. His matchup is tougher than these other guys faced in Houston, but he's more talented than most of them. And, you have a little bit of game theory working in your favor. So I like Kirby in tournaments. Manoah's probably the guy I'm pairing him with in cash on DraftKings. I think you could do Kirby, though. I think you could do Verlander. Manoah scares me. I just don't think he's that good. The stuff plus is down this year, but the matchup is really good against the White Sox. They're even kind of rolling out the B team today. Corey Julks is leading off. The strikeout rate is looking really good on this projected lineup today. So I'm tempted by Manoah, but I just don't think he's good. I probably will wind up on Verlander or Kirby, but Manoah's definitely in that mix. And then there is some cheaper stuff if you want to take shots. I don't love it, but like you can take a shot on Bryce Wilson, on Mackenzie Gore, on Scott Schwellenbacher, or whatever his name is today that I don't think anyone's ever heard of. But
nailed it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pitching.
Okay, so basically it was Ober and then a bunch of dudes. Ober and a bunch of dudes. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, with that, let's kick it to Chief. Do you see it the same way where you've got Ober at the top and then a next grouping and then maybe some other dudes you can take?
And I wouldn't say Ober's like so much above the other guys. It's just like, I think he's a little above them and he's cheaper. So like for cash games, Ober makes sense, but I'm not saying he's like easily the top guy or anything like that.
Okay. And S. Wolf Dab says, what about Luis Gil? And Carty did mention him as in that next grouping of dudes, of which there are a bunch of, and they are all very, very playable. Devin says, tempted by the fruit of Manoah, which I really enjoyed. Thank you, Devin. Chief, what do you got for me pitcher-wise?
I've got a pretty small pool today. I do have Alek Manoah in my pool begrudgingly. I don't want to play him, but this White Sox lineup is so bad. I'm hoping his meager skills outweigh this White Sox lineup. But I'm not thrilled about it. My top play is probably Verlander today, personally, only because, it's a boom or bust spot. And you guys have to keep in mind I'm playing tournaments and I'm mostly, MME. And I just think Verlander, in terms of access to strikeouts with this Seattle lineup, they've been pretty rough all season. I want to trust that. And Verlander, he's projecting, like Carty said, everybody's actually projecting fairly close. So at 8,800 with the option to give up a few runs, but possibly still get to about 7 strikeouts. I really like Verlander at 88. I do like the discount off of Luis Gil off of a Shota Imanaga. I don't think Verlander is better than Imanaga right now in terms of skills, just because he's getting older. I think Shota was going to be better for the next few years at least. But I think on today's slate, getting almost a 2K discount, I like the savings. I'm still going to play Shota. I'm still going to play Luis Gil. I like both of those guys. I think both are fine. Gil, I think, probably has access to a few more strikeouts. Shota may have access to, more innings if he's efficient. But tomato, tomato, potato, potato. I like them both. I'm not playing Seth Lugo. I got rid of him completely today. I just thought his price was too close to – I felt like Gil and Imanaga, who I think have a little bit better shot at higher outputs today. And I think he's too close to Verlander, who I also think has a shot at a higher output. So I just got rid of him completely. Just wanted to address that. I'm not going to play Kirby. I just try not to play pitchers against Houston. And, of course, that means Kirby's going to go out and pitch 9 innings today and 20 strikeouts. But I'm not playing Kirby. So my pool right now is Imanaga, Gil, Verlander, Manoah, McKenzie, Gore. I am fading Bailey Ober as well, but that's just because I'm trying to get really condensed. It's got nothing to do with me not liking Ober. It's just a lot of times when guys are close, I'm just deciding to get more Manoah and Gore than Ober. But that's the only reason I'm not playing them today.
Okay, very interesting. Let's flip the script and talk about some of the bats and the stacks. Chief, you can lead us off there.
Yeah, my favorite stack right now, and this is more of an ownership play, if you will. It's actually the Yankees. Like, I feel like overall more people are going to be playing the Guardians. A lot more people are playing the Blue Jays than I thought, and so the Yankees just kind of ended up being the team that was somewhat of the odd team out from what I consider to be like the bigger bat teams, because they've got Soto, Judge. They've got some big bats in that lineup. Secondarily, I do really like the Cubs today against Bryce Wilson. And so I think we'll hear a name or two from there in the end. But those are two of my sneaky stacks outside of the obvious Blue Jays, Guardians, so forth and so on.
Okay, Carty, your thoughts on the stacks?
Yeah, I mean, Guardians are great. Blue Jays look good. I like the Yankees a lot. I like the Rockies. I think some cheap Nationals are in play tonight. I think some cheap White Sox are in play tonight. That's what I like tonight.
Okay, fair enough. Guys, we have oodles and oodles and noodles of time. We still have like an hour basically until lock. But let's go position by position. What's up?
One more thing. Sorry.
Yeah, please, you're good.
I am going to stack the Nationals because I always do against a young pitcher. So this is not me saying Schwellenbach is going to get knocked around. This is me saying he could, because the stage is just too big for him today. And so I am gonna stack the Nationals for that reason. And if he happens to come out rusty or jittery or walks one too many guys early, then you could be looking at a few runs. But that's and I've done this against him. I did the same thing against Blake Snell when he got his first start with the Rays. It's just something I do just in case these guys just aren't ready, because you just don't know until you see them pitch around a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, that was a great example of what Chop was asking for, which is some sort of button that pops up that like highlights Chief. It's like Chief saying, I got something to say, and then he wouldn't have had to interrupt. I do think StreamYard, get on board with this. Chop's got $1 million idea right there. All right, let's go around the horn.
Like a pretty obvious thing. Like, how do they not have that already?
I know. Yeah. The more I think about it, like I should be able to push a button and my thing should light up and let people know I have something to say. But I rarely have anything to say here because we're going around the horn. I have no input. Carty, you do, and you get to lead us off a catcher.
All right. So catcher today. It feels really weird to pay $5,000 for David Fry, but that's, I think, like one of the best moves today because he's in Coors Field facing Ty Block, who's a lefty and really, really just not good. So yeah, I think he's great. In tournaments, I really like William Contreras against Imanaga. I don't think people are going to have him at all today, but he's just so good and he has a platoon advantage, and Imanaga is due for a little bit of regression. So I think he's a great tournament option at the high end. And then if you need to save some money, I think Logan O'Hoppe against Luis Gil. gives some decent leverage in tournaments, and on the really cheap end, Keibert Ruiz I think is for 2.4K is a really good option.
Okay, great. Anything to add to that, Chief?
Yeah, we're pretty close today. I am going to play some Salvador Perez, and I am going to play some Ryan Jeffers, because I've just been playing Jeffers all year, man. He's been like my ultimate one-off catcher. He's hit for a fair amount of power, and so I will be playing him. But everybody else, I mean, Keibert Ruiz at 2.4K, that's like ultimate cheap catcher alert today, I think. And so I really like him.
Yeah. All right. First base, Chief, what do we got?
Yeah, so I think, in terms of Coors, I am going to address this and maybe they talked about it before, but I feel like Josh Naylor, lefty, I think people are going to play it, but I don't think they're going to play it as much as Jose Ram. And so I do think, I don't think this is a spot where you avoid in anything like that. I think you get Josh Naylor in your lineups. So I really like him a ton. Please, Vlad Guerrero, don't just hit the ball on the ground today. Let's get it up in the air some at 5K facing Chris Flexen. I mean, I think he's fine. I don't hate Justin Turner either at 4K. You kind of got a couple different options there. And then one of my favorite guys today, he does have our little buttons there. I was hoping I was just going to be sneaky by myself, but Gavin Sheets at 3,400. I mean, you could get him in the outfield also, but if you need the salary relief at first base, I mean, he's got really good power numbers. You're going to ask for home run calls. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, he's on my list today. Manoah's still giving up some power to lefties, and Gavin Sheets is hitting for really good power and pretty much has been. So at 3,400, I like him a ton.
Okay, very good. Carter, your thoughts at first.
Yeah, I like the Sheets thing. I thought I was going to be sneaky with that. So maybe everyone's just going to play Gavin Sheets. But I mentioned liking some of the cheaper White Sox today. So I think Sheets in tournaments makes a lot of sense. Vlad, it's a great spot. It's one of the best parks in baseball for power. It's high contact. Chris Flexen on FanDuel, especially, his price is always really good. So I like Vlad. I like Montero a lot in the Coors game on DraftKings for 3.4K. I agree though, Naylor. Don't sleep on Naylor in your Cleveland stacks. I don't think he'll be one of the most popular Cleveland pieces, like Chief said, because it's lefty. But you he's still one of the best plays on the slate. So he's great. I don't hate a cheap Joey Gallo, take a moonshot for a dong kind of thing. 3.2K. I don't hate that.
Okay, second base.
Andres Jimenez is going to be, I guess it's Andres Jimenez and Davis Schneider as kind of like the 1 and the 1A today. Schneider on FanDuel is 400 cheaper, so I think you probably play Schneider. He's 1,000 cheaper on DraftKings, so I think you're probably playing Schneider, but don't let the price difference scare you off of Jimenez. Schneider projects for 2.5 times the ownership of Jimenez today on DraftKings because probably of that price. But Jimenez is fantastic. So don't not play him. Brendan Rodgers on the other side of that game, I think, is really good. I like Gleyber Torres a lot in the Yankees lineup today, either in your stack or as a one-off. And yeah, that's what I like at second.
Okay, very good. Chief, your thoughts at second?
Yeah, I definitely want to highlight Gleyber Torres, man. He's 3,800, hasn't been as good this season, obviously. But at that price of your Yankee stacks, I just think you just need to play him. And then I'm big time with Carty on Jimenez at 5,400. I just think, once again, I think people are kind of going to not play some of these lefties as much. And, I think that's a mistake. And then last but not least, I once again, I do like the Cubs. I don't hate Nico Horner at, two more, Nico Horner and then Garcia from Washington. Like I said, I am going to try to attack Schwellenbach a little bit just in case. And he's 4K, and I don't hate him either.
Okay. Third base.
Well, I think the obvious play, everybody's going to be playing Jose Ramirez for good reason. You'll get no issues from me there. Once again, going back to the Cubs, I do like Christopher Morel, a guy that has hit for power in the past and could obviously send one out of the stadium today. I'm okay with like Michael Garcia leading off. I'm just okay though. Like I don't think you would play him in any lineups with Ober. I don't mind like if you just kind of one off him if you got 4,500 left. I do like Morel better than him, but I don't hate it. And I think Austin Riley against Mackenzie Gore. I do like Gore today, but I don't think he gets out of this game clean. Like I think one of these guys, and I know we haven't gotten there, but like one of Ozuna, Arcia, D'Arnaud, Duval, like one of these guys is going to get a hold of him, I think. I can't tell you which one right now, but I definitely think, you can consider Austin Riley. Power's not showing up so far this season, but I still think it's there. Just kind of getting back from injury could absolutely send one out of the park.
Okay. Carty, did you do third already? I lost 4.
Not yet.
No. Okay. What are your thoughts there at third?
Yeah, the price on Riley on FanDuel 3.3 is really, really tempting. He's got the platoon advantage. He's obviously a really, really good hitter. Playing against Gore scares me. Like Gore this year, his stuff plus has like skyrocketed. Like he almost looks like a different guy this year. So I don't love picking on him, but I think at that price for Riley, he's really hard to ignore. On DraftKings, where he's 5.1K, I think he's a lot easier to ignore. Jose Ramirez is the guy you want to get up to in cash if you can. If you need to save money, though, there's not a lot of like really cheap stuff. You have like kind of 3 to 4K guys like Gabriel Arias, Joey Ortiz, Isaiah Kiner Falefa, Nick Senzel. Like those are kind of your spend down options, which aren't great. So personally, I like getting up to Ramirez. I like getting up to Ryan McMahon, even though it's lefty in cores. Christopher Morel, I think, looks really good today. I think you're probably staying towards the high end at third base.
All right. How about short?
Anthony Volpe is the guy that I like the most. Reasonably priced, leading off, platoon advantage, sneaky good park for power. I think on FanDuel in particular, where he's 3.2K, he's great. Also good on DraftKings, but on DraftKings, I think you can also probably throw into the mix Tovar leading off in cores. You have Bo Bichette in that lineup against Flexen. You have Brian Rocchio on the Cleveland side, of course. Dansby Swanson for 3.3K is really cheap. I like him. So, yeah, that's shortstop.
Okay. Chief, your thoughts at short?
I'll just add in, I do like CJ Abrams against Schwellenbach. Everybody else, we're just going to be in lockstep.
Okay. Then take me to the outfield.
Take me to church. So many options out here in the outfield. Juan Soto, lefty, don't care. Judge at 6K, I think he's good. We've already mentioned David Fry at catcher. You can't get him in the outfield if you want to kind of do something a little bit different at catcher. So I do like him quite a bit. You can also get Gavin Sheets in the outfield, which I talked about. You've got Rodriguez from Cleveland, man, at 3,200, just so cheap in this spot versus Block. So I'm assuming people are going to play him as well. You've got, excuse me, I mentioned this earlier, but like Adam Duvall, once again, and let me say this, I'm not stacking the Braves. So let me make that clear, because I did mention some Braves names. I'm not stacking the Braves, but I do think, once again, maybe Gore gives up a home run or two. And so Adam Duvall at 3,800, really good power, really low K rate so far this season. I like him. I like Ian Happ at 3,800. But at the top, if I was going to spend for one guy, it's probably Judge for me versus Anderson.
All right, Carty, what do you got in the outfield?
Yeah, it's Judge for me too. I like the Yankees outfielders a lot tonight, especially on FanDuel. You're getting really good prices on them. Judge is the best, but Stanton's in there. Juan Soto looks really good tonight. I like the core stuff, the Rodriguez, Fry, Freeman, Cleveland stuff. Davis Schneider, obviously, for the Jays, who we mentioned at second, but you can play him in the outfield also. I like Seiya Suzuki as kind of a little more off the board, a little cheaper on FanDuel tonight.
With that, we can allow some questions to start trickling in. And as we do so, let's give some bombs, Carty. What do you got for me? Who's going yard? Javier says Stanton is in cleanup for the first time in a long time. Is that accurate?
I believe it is. So
do you care? Is he usually in a pretty good spot anyways?
I mean, it's not like he's buried in the order. What does he usually hit? Like fifth, maybe?
Yeah. All right, let's do some home run calls. What was that? He's usually fifth?
Yeah. So, I mean, it helps. It helps, but it's not a huge boost.
Right.
Top home run tonight is going to be Aaron Judge. In terms of something a little bit sneakier.
Wait, real quick. Do you have the percentages on Judge and then the second place guy? Like the percent that Judge hits a home run and then who is second?
I do, yeah.
Sorry, I don't mean to make you work extra.
No, it's no problem. So percentage chance that Judge hits a home run tonight is 30%.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good. Next is Stanton at 23.5%.
Okay, I thought it might even be a bigger gap than that, but that's interesting.
Having Stanton in that same lineup and same spot, if you look at non-Yankees, it's probably going to be a pretty big gap.
Right. Okay. Anyone, not as, Judge, somebody a little bit.
Oh, yeah. So, Gary Sanchez.
Yes.
I don't mind taking a shot on Gary Sanchez for a homer tonight. That's about all he's good for. And if he doesn't get it, he's probably giving you a 0, but he'll be super low owned. He's reasonably priced. I think there's enough of a shot where I don't mind him.
Love it. Okay, Chief, you got a few names for me as well?
Yeah, I did drop Gavin Sheets, and then my other one is Cody Bellinger. I like both of those guys tonight.
Excellent. Gentlemen, we still have over 30 minutes until lock. We'll take
over
some questions.
30? This slate doesn't lock at 6:50? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Sadly, it does not. We're just going to hang out until the questions start drying up, and then we'll bounce out of here. But as long as you guys have questions and we are providing info, we are going to hang with y'all. Let's start, as always, in the RG Discord, where Tom says, I came in late. DK Cash. He didn't even apologize for coming in late. He's just saying, I came in late. DK Cash pitchers. Carty, your cash pairing. I'll just let you do it because I don't want to butcher it.
Yeah, it's Ober for me, and then it's a matter of who you pair him with. It's probably one of Verlander, Manoah, and Kirby. I don't have a strong take on which one.
Okay, very good. DK Cash, a large field GPP. I'll let you both answer this. In a large field GPP, your favorite stack. Carty, you go first. Chief, follow him up.
I think it's maybe the Yankees for me. I think they're really good. I think they're better than the Jays, who are going to come in higher owned. Give me the Yankees.
Okay, Chief, got something?
Mine is also the Yankees, but if you're talking about like deep tournament stuff that we think nobody's going to play, especially with this run total being really low, give me the Washington Nationals against Schwellenbach on our first start.
Very good. Hey, by the way, you guys should be signing up for RotoGrinders Premium. I know this is free content, and that's great, but we've got a whole host of stuff behind the paywall that will make you a better DFSer. And we've got a great option for whatever price level you're looking for. You get a 6-month combo subscription at an exclusive price of $469.99. That's a savings of $250 as opposed to buying 6 individual months of combo premium. You can also get your first month of RG Premium for $40 off for a limited time. Or if you just want to give it a little try, check it out, see what it's about. 3-day pass, $19.99. Check the links in the description for more info. And with that, we can get back to the QQs. If you're watching on YouTube, drop a question, drop a thumbs up. Drop a question, drop a thumbs up. That's the order here. Javier Hernandez, great question. Chief, who is your single entry pitcher if you want to go cheap? And he actually said pitchers. So maybe he's going like a double cheap build. I'm
not really close to double cheap, but I think if if I'm going double, none of the big guns, it would probably be Mackenzie Gore and Verlander for me. But that's about as cheap as I would go on DraftKings. Were they at? Did they have site specific, or were
They didn't say, but they
just
said
asking
pitchers. So by
Okay.
pitchers, I assume they meant on
Yeah.
DK.
Yeah.
Cardi, do you have anybody cheaper than, what was it, Gore and Verlander that you would say are viable there?
I'd say Schwellenbach and Bryce Wilson are viable. I don't love it,
Yeah.
but I wouldn't tell you you're wrong to play them.
Okay.
And once again, I am playing begrudgingly some Alek Manoah, but I don't have him anywhere near Verlander today.
Yeah. Okay. Your favorite SP options? FanDuel. So, Chief, I'll let you take this one. Your favorite FanDuel pitcher. The pricing a little different over there, and you only get one.
Oh, just favorite, not. It's probably going to be Verlander at 9,300.
Excellent. Let's see what else we have. Top 10 says, any weather today? Well, there's always weather, my friend, but there's not any rain, delay, postponement concerns, at least not of the games that have yet to go. On DK, Chief, you want J-Ram or Bobby Witt?
Gonna go J-Ram.
Okay. Cardi, coming to you. DK single entry favorite stack. I feel like the answer to that is Yankees. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Cardi, back to you. Is 3 Nationals too many Nationals in a DK single entry?
No, I don't think so. You're playing the better Nationals, I would hope, obviously, but I think at their prices, they work today.
Okay. Let's see. FanDuel GPP, Cardi, would you go with a Royals or Cubs stack?
I think I'd go Cubs first.
Melvy says, Chief, help me out. FanDuel tournament pitching tiers. Where do you have? I think you said Verlander was in your top tier. Could you give me maybe your next tier?
Yeah, Shota, Hio, Verlander would be top for me, and then below that it'd be Gore at 8,800, Kirby at 89, Manoah at 92, and I'm just not playing Seth Lugo today. So that's kind of my grouping.
Very good. We'll go to Snow Fighter's question. Chief, right back to you here. Is fading Cleveland bats to be different in a big GPP?
Oh,
okay.
For sure. So let me make this also clear. You guys know I fade Coors every slate pretty much.
Yeah.
There's enough bats for me, so I'm perfectly fine with like a full, like X them all out and play everybody else.
Nice. Okay. Justin says, Cardi, is Bryce Wilson a consideration? Why does that name sound so familiar but isn't?
I mean, I mentioned him. He's kind of one of those like fringe, if you really need to get cheap guys on DraftKings that I don't hate.
Yeah. If BABIP is on his side today, he's fine. If it's not, he's going to have negative points or close to it.
Yeah. What else do we have? Cardi, can I punt with Vaughn from the White Sox to save a little money?
Let me see what his price is. I like Sheets more. Sheets is only a couple hundred more. I think get up to Sheets if you can.
Yeah. Okay. Eric Johnson says, Chief, I got a prop question. Open up the prop shop, Chief. Black over 2.5 Ks with Cleveland having a 22.5% versus left-hand pitching. I assume that means strikeout rate.
Yeah, that's going to be strikeout rate.
Yeah. I'm personally not playing any tie block props today, and I understand like what you're trying to get across here, but tie block to get 3 strikeouts, that's too big of a roller coaster ride for me. So I'm just off of it. I would probably still be on the under, as crazy as it sounds.
For what it's worth, I bet the under today. I got him under 2.5 at plus 125, I think, this morning, or plus 135.
Yeah.
Which it's moved from there. The market has been moving down, but I would not bet the over.
Okay. All right. What else do we have? Sean says, single entry, your favorite pitching pair, Cardi, you can go. And then the second question, is Judge worth it? And I think universally your guys' answer to that one is like, yeah, kind of is, right? But first, best pitching pair then is Judge worth it, Carty?
I mean, give me like Kirby and any of those other like 5 top guys. Give me like Kirby and Verlander, Kirby and Ober, Kirby and Luis Hill. Like any of that's fine.
Yeah. Okay, great. What else do we have? DK Cash, Chief, Varsho, or Freeman?
Varsho.
Okay. Jumping back into the Discord. Do you guys think you need to full stack today, Chief? Are you going mostly full stacks, or do you have some like 2-2-2s out there?
Mostly. I've got about 40% 5-3, roughly 30% 4-4, and then 35, and then the other 25 is like 4 and however it shakes out.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. We are doing pretty good here. Make sure you hit us with a little thumbs up. We may be bouncing momentarily if you don't have any more questions. Crazy Coop says, Carty, any love for Tucker tonight? One off as a pivot off of Chalky Judge.
Tucker's great. I mean, it's never like bad to play Tucker, but the matchup's really tough tonight. The price is really high, and there are quite a few guys that project above him. I probably wouldn't do Tucker tonight.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Outfielder in DK Cash, Chief, I'm coming to you. 4,500 or less, Verdugo or Freddie Freeman?
Give me Freeman in this case.
Okay, very good. Guys, with that, we have done the things we came here to do. We have answered the questions. We've given the pitchers. We've given the hitters. We've given the bombs. And we've made sure everybody hits that thumbs up for us as well. And I think with that, it is probably time to bounce. But first, Carty, Dan Jan says your favorite home run bet over plus 500.
I can take a quick look here. Let me sort for the games that haven't started yet.
In the
Ooh,
meantime,
there we go.
Javier says, hey, great show, guys. We appreciate that, Javier. Thank you for watching. Make sure you hit us with a thumbs up.
There is really, really not a lot out there. There's like nothing. Sorry, I can't recommend anything.
I love that. I love that you're not just like forcing it in, because the next question was, Carty, any good home run odds tonight? So another person, and I'm wondering if it's getting to the point where people love betting these home run props so much that the books are like squeezing people more and more on the odds.
Oh, absolutely. That's 100% a thing. The odds just this whole year have not been good on home runs.
Yeah, it's just such a fun thing to bet that people do it even with shitty odds. So like, why? They're not going to give good odds if people keep betting them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Hey, with that, we have legitimately answered every single question out there. With that, Jay says, does Roth end crunch time early during the NBA season? I end it when we're out of questions and when we've given all the information. If you'd like, we could sit here silently. I just don't know how long we want to do that for 20 more minutes. We've literally, we've given you everything you need to know to get out there and win some money. So we're going to bounce on out for Chief and for Carty and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes. Guys, we appreciate you. We love you. And we will catch you tomorrow. You have been crunched.